Hi guys. Get an up close look here while I try to make sure everything is set up perfectly. Signing in 2 locations so that I can try to make sure everybody can see everything perfectly. Let's see. There I am. Okay. Now I'm going to share this to a couple of places. Hi, if you're watching, we're going to get started here in just a moment. I'm just getting everything set up. How you guys doing today? Let me know you're watching by saying hi or something. I want to see how quickly I can see people's comments and messages so I can answer your questions. Let's see where. We're so glad to have you. Hi, Annie. Thank you, Annie. I can see it. Perfect. And now I'm going to try to share it one more place. You guys can see here, I tried to set the mood. It's what I do. I wouldn't even put on my hat for you guys. Just let me share it. Yeah, it's being really difficult here. All right. I see 4 people have joined us. Hi, everybody. We'll be getting started in just a moment. It will let me share it later, I guess. I was trying to make sure it's being shared in the actual event where a lot of people said that they were going to go see it. We're going to be doing some poems from HoodWitch today. I might have 1 or 2 new poems for you guys, but it will be mostly poems from HoodWitch. Let me see if I can grab the actual URL here. We still got a couple of more minutes. If you don't know, I did put in one post that I am going to be giving away a free book today. So get ready for that. Somebody's going to have a free book by the end of the day. Let's see. How do I copy this link? Hey, Annie, if you can figure out how to share this in the event, that would be great. Because right now it's just doing it from the Poets in Pajamas reading series page. I want to share it to the event. And I don't know how to do that. So we'll try this right there. See what happens now. Cool. All right. And now I've got it up in 2 places. That way, if I don't see your questions automatically, then I can see them on my computer. Right. Oh, we don't want to hear it though. Now I'm gonna grab my poems, back it up, make sure I tag my mom here because, you know, she wanted to know what was going on. Because that's how people do, right? It's not going to let me do that. You can tell it's been a long time since I've done this. I don't know how to do it. I don't know how to tag. Let's try this. Nope. Not going to let me do it. All right. Thank you so much, Annie. All right. Okay, the time is now 6:01. So now that I have given you all of the up close face shots and plenty of me working on a computer, we can do some poems. Behind me, what you're going to see is just some of my favorite items. I'm going to go ahead and sage the room just a little bit. 'cause I'm a dork like that. Just a little bit of sage. And this is my my manifestation plant. If you can't see here, I was very excited. I got this as a gift very recently. I have been wanting a snake plant forever and just hadn't really had the extra budget for it. And somebody gifted that to me, and I was so excited. And I was just very excited. And then the other day, I got this in the mail. So, yay! 2 plants that I absolutely love, that I'm very happy to have in my home because they set the mood. And the other thing you'll see here is my book, HoodWitch. HoodWitch actually comes out October 15th. I'm very excited about this book. It is my debut collection of poetry, and the poems I'm going to be reading today are from HoodWitch. HoodWitch was the actual book itself. The poems that are in the book have been getting written for almost a decade now. There are at least 2 poems in there that are at least 10 years old. And they have gone through many, many, many different formats and different edits and things like that. But the concept of HoodWitch kind of comes from my own personal spiritual practice. You know, it's what helped me to kind of find balance after a very tough period of my life. So I'm going to read some poems from the book, HoodWitch. And I thought that it might be a good idea to start over here at the beginning. If you guys have any questions about the book, if you have any questions about the writing practice, any questions about what I do overall, please feel free to stick those questions in there and I will answer them at the end. And yeah, let's go ahead and get started with a poem. This is called Photo of a Girl, 1994, God, Long Beach, California. I watched the flood splash and truck by my first floor window before I see God strut by with her iron and 40 ounce. A wave of bodies, glittering onyx, catch air, dip and weave past the sill like a river of flies that splinter at the sight of her. A legion of black ants tripping down the street screaming, run, as God pulls a hammer, whips spiders all through my kitchen. Hoodies scatter in the side streets as God saunters by in her slapping pink slippers and creamy silk boxers, unhinging, reminding them who they fucking with. God heard Samson got his dick wet, ships black hail into my living room. God says she's gotta knock that shit out, hocks a bullet into my bathroom. God, I think Samson better go on and get his ass out there. God about to break connect on me, looking for a little goddamn justice. So, God in this poem and in most of the book is actually a black woman, and woman spelled WOMXN to include all women from all origins and backgrounds. When I say that God is a woman and God is a black woman in particular, what that is supposed to mean is that there are a lot of things that have happened to black women throughout the course of history. A lot of violence done to the body, and you know, it's not very often that people acknowledge that power or acknowledge the work that's gone into making ourselves appear strong all the time. And so for the sake of this book, I want all of the characters that are black women who have been harmed or gone through things to come back stronger than they were before. And that's kind of where this is. And the thing about it is that it's not just becoming strong. It's also a little bit about getting some revenge, which is completely valid. Not in every single case, but in many cases. Let's do another poem, and then I'll tell you a little bit more about that. Actually, let's do this one. This one, the book is broken up into 3 sections, and this poem is the first poem in the first section. It's called Wolf. I found her naked, arms wrapped around the photo of us, candle wax in the carpet, shards of light cutting into her brown skin. Last night the walls bled. God came up in the house, she said, was now in our adjusted periphery and in her legs now. Dropped a drum in her, she a wolf now. She say, I ate the moon whole. She's full of brooms and weapons now. Sweats like a pit bull. She can smell the shit on me now. She says, I finally found a way to clean the blood out the carpet. Gets down on all fours, starts licking. She says, I a witch now, can't nobody break what's broken, and I'm all ivory now. She warned me to get gone. She can see the devil itch in a man's skin now. She say they gon' know I'm a beast now. My sister has got a new video online of her panting. Touch me again and I will tear this motherfucker down. So, Wolf is about someone I know who was attacked and raped, and their response wasn't one of brokenness. It was a sort of brokenness, but it was a breaking out of their own skin. And so this poem is kind of about how how these things that happen to us transform us and make us more than what we were before. In the case of this poem, into a wolf. In the case of the book, again, many of them become gods. And so in this poem, she's part god, part wolf, part woman. Hi everybody. I see you, Luke. What up? I saw an Octavia Butler comment earlier from Annie. Yeah, God as a black woman. Yep. So I'm gonna switch tone just a little bit. My book is kind of sad. I didn't think I intended it to be that way, but that's what was on my heart, and that's what kept coming up over and over again with hard things. So it's also in this case. This poem is called The Collage of a Dying Sun, which is a poem dedicated to my fiance who passed away back in 2010. Yeah, I guess that's all you need to know. Collage of a dying. Oh, his name was Ray, which is, rays of sunshine, all the other fun stuff, which is why the title of the poem is Collage of a Dying Sun. He is dying to hear the echo of his rubber wheels running down the arched back of an empty garage parking lot, to climb the fat trunks of trees crowding the street he grew up on, to get married in his backyard beneath a mar of eager and fresh roses. So we elope, only to find our marriage is a rupture of sound and method. We fuck the whole afternoon, coaxing stars from the attics of our mouths, removing our clothes, those costume carcasses to charter Atlas. I press my body against his nakedness, lean over the edge of his shoulder to listen to the whip and crack of a constant sun unfurling in his chest. The slow burn of it all, like the tetras of a lost moon, tearing into the tendons that swim in the bend of him. The diptych aurora of our gravities hushing themselves in the palpable heat swindled between our knees. His inevitable confession, I am dying. He is dying. To watch the moon collapse into a cobalt lining. So quietly, we listen to the wolves commanding the desert in the dark, and he kisses the scars on my ashy legs, swallows whole liters of absinthe, becomes gravity sands kinetic. The next morning, we ride silent, listen to songs about soldiers and wars he will never know, past orchid shades, asleep on the bodies of the mountains we avoid and refuse to see. Roads change colors. I'm sorry, guys. I'm getting over a little cough. Roads change colors and fade into trees along crooked lines and the arid and empty hills. Suddenly, it's as if all the confessions of our climaxes, once allowed to atrophy, expand. This is when he loves me enough to say, I want a little girl. So we pull over to make one, hold each other up until electric sapphire leaks in through the fogged up motel windows, until our chrysalis, softly wet, lies open on the carpet beside the mirror. I am so sorry. I have water. Hold on. So we pull over to make one. Hold up each other until electric sapphire leaks in through the fogged up motel windows. Until our chrysalis, softly wet, lies open on the carpet beside the mirror. That night, he tries to fly from 10 flights up, and I make him promise to never leave the bed again. But he murmurs, but I am tired, and lilac stains the chalky walls of that white room while we hum, our mouths chasing an absence. We laugh, we sigh, and soon I am saying, I think this urn is far too small to hold him. So that is Collage of a Dying Sun. That poem is one of the ones that I said is almost 10 years old. It's gone through a lot of different forms. It used to be 2 separate poems, and now it's 1 poem. The big thing about it is that I was trying to find images that I could take from our relationship and create kind of a dream that you fall through, is what I was trying to do with the shape of the poem. So like the way it's shaped on the page, you know, I wanted you to kind of fall through. And then, you know, the original idea was to make it look like an urn, but I think now it's more of a, I just want you to fall through each moment with me so that you're falling in love and falling through everything all the way to the last line. So we'll see how that works for other people. But that was my vision when I wrote it. Let's see how we're doing on time. We got a little bit of time. This next one is one of the newest poems in the book, as in it wasn't written until the last couple of months before the book was done. So it's one of the newest ones, and it's called The Red Wedding Dress. Had I known my waist would become a tripwire of baby girls, before then a bed of broken shells, beneath tainted lace, I would not have chosen from across the room the dress that screamed, "Love me, dear," and hummed a furnace against my breast, just like his mouth at the breakfast table. A bonfire that danced on the lips of my skirt, an omen of the eggs that would fall. But it did scream. And so, in the dress shop, I twirled and twirled. Winter's stag silhouetted before a dying sun, a hot ache against all the beige. My bleeding threads muscling through the bland husk of a million naive brides. So I chose a red wedding dress, which, you know, in hindsight, one of the omens of death. I chose that dress a month before he passed away. And it was the only red one in the whole entire store. And I don't know, like, you know, what my thought process was, but I was like, oh yeah, this is going to be amazing. And I did that. And so, of course, it stuck with me afterwards. Talking about love and how love changes you, and how you, after someone passes, you do everything you can to see if you try to figure out, would I have seen it coming? Is there anything I could have done to stop it? And for me, that turned out to be the dress. It was like, I could have seen this dress and chosen something different, and I chose that instead. So yeah. Let's see here. It's hard when you guys are not right in front of me, so I can't ask you which one you want to hear. I have a lot that I need to pick from. Let's see here. Trying to do something a little different than what I've been doing at readings. I'm going to do Little Mama Gets High next, and then probably 1 or 2 more, and then we'll get to questions. So start putting in your questions. And I will be looking at them to answer them at the end, okay? So start putting in your questions now for me. Any questions you have about the poems or about HoodWitch, yeah. This is called Little Mama Gets High. Little Mama gets high. Remember, she got a degree in bitch, please. Minored in proper English, but these white folks still don't know what the fuck she mean when she say, us restless daughters forage under neon lights for leftover liquor and boy meat, never pretending perfection. We discuss the cons of your heaven, climb concert speakers and swallow full moons, petition DJs with our chocolate-filled hips, make it rain on them, grind the earth and give you gardens, rub our legs together and give you smoke, suck hoodoo down our parched muscle, cough up glitter and gore, sometimes for your amusement, but never for your approval. Us restless daughters have waned on the idea of separation from our spiritual selves, are no longer your cannibals, are no longer your Christians, have gotten into grand discussions about no longer covering up our Botman bodies, have learned to cover our scars, learn to worship the skin we survive in, question the purpose of religion and other nonsense shit like that, believe in the spirit, the measurable force, like light, pushing and pulling between here and whatever comes after. Us restless daughters believe in curated space in our homes, seek out our equals, get lit up, talking about transitions and transformations, get lit up, talking about the scientific evidence of good vibes, get lit up. And that's the problem. We are still wondering how we always manage to end up alone and face down in a pool of gasoline. We have got to love ourselves out here. Us restless daughters storm the silence. Our black bodies hang from the stars like hot oil under blemished sun. Shimmy when everyone else is asleep. Dig into ourselves. Dig under blocks and blocks of black bodies for fresh water. Under the side streets, groan for our broken pipes, our stolen gardens. Look for where it all went wrong. Dig the ruined parts out. Reach inside ourselves because somebody has got to fix the goddamn plumbing in here. So, Lil Mama Gets High is obviously about smoking. And when you smoke and having those conversations with your friends, there are certain stereotypes that come with black women in America specifically. And the stereotype is Christian and loud, and or Christian and low income, or low income and very shallow, and that they don't have these deep, thought-provoking conversations amongst themselves. And so I tried to blend in my own personal experiences with I juxtapose with the stereotypes that are normally associated with black women. Again, women, WOMXN. So that's part of that. The other part of that is just this. For some reason, black millennial women are associated with urban living and not with nature. And there's definitely a deep movement to get back to nature, to get reconnected with nature. And I want to honor that. And so that's also that part. That's that part. You guys ready for a sad poem? I feel like all my poems are sad. Not intentionally. I am so sorry, guys. I was not feeling well yesterday, and I've been working on it, but I'm here today. Cool. This next one is called Sandboxes. I am a birth mother, birth parent, and being a birth parent means that my child was adopted by two incredibly wonderful people who I'm just so grateful for them. But the hard part is, and something that they don't talk about when it comes to birth parents, is that there is a whole entire community of us. We are the hidden behind people that you may know several of them, and they would never tell you because that's the part of their life that they just don't discuss with anyone. And there are some things that happen in your heart and in your mind and in your body. In particular, when you walk by, like, a bunch of children playing at the park, that seems innocent enough. But for me, the first time it happened, I was walking by a park and I saw kids playing in a sandbox, and I reacted not well. I didn't react very well to watching parents putting their children in sandboxes and carrying these kids around and wondering, am I going to recognize my child one day? Am I going to know who she is? And then knowing that there are people who have lost children and how that stays with them, these children that they've lost. And so this poem is for that community. It's called Sandboxes. I smile at all the babies I see, secret the rows of bleached teeth, flinch when mothers bury them into boxes slick with bird bones and cat piss and broken glass, when rose blooms on smudged cheeks, hot with other infections, and I wonder if this is common practice. Do they know what is down there? Do they care about what is down there? What is down there? Do mothers care about down there? Do other mothers care about what is down there? Do other mothers care about other mothers? Do other mothers bury their children there on purpose down there? Do other mothers whisper to the children there down there? Do other mothers whisper to their phantom children? Do other mothers see their children in other arms? Do other mothers try to forget what date it is? What date is it now? Is it that day? Do other mothers know it is that day? Do they care? Do other mothers care that it is that day? Do they stop to pray in between orgasms? These other mothers, do they still orgasm? These other mothers, can other mothers orgasm after down there? Do other amputee mothers congregate outside of other homes, other theirs, other anywheres? Do other mothers scream into empty bassinets and empty car seats and back seats and empty bedrooms down empty hallways? Do they scream always? Do they crochet their blankets to smother their down theirs? Do they smother their down theirs? Do other mothers sob at the spasms of their empty bellies? Do their bellies spasm? Do they still feel it down there? Do they mourn their thefts? Do they mourn? Do other mothers mourn? Hard poem. So I'm trying to find a place that's cool to end with on the poems. I work for part-time for a local social justice group. If you guys want to support, there are a number of ways you can, and I will tell you about that at the end here. I'm going to end with the poem about my mom that I thought was really fun. Actually, do y'all want to hear the poem about my mom or the new poem that's not in the book? Let's just stick with the poems that are in the book. I can't see any chatting if you guys are doing chatting. You can also give me questions. I love questions and I want to answer your questions. So please feel free to leave a question so I can answer your question for you. Yeah, let's do this one right here. I'm going to do photo of a girl, 1984, senior photo. So the photos of a girl in the book, there are several photos. And it goes photo of a girl up until a certain age, and then it goes photo of X. And that difference is from the time when I saw myself as, just a female to the time that I started understanding myself as a non-binary person. And so those were two different time periods in my life. So whenever you go through the book, and they're not in order, so when you go through the book, if you see photo of X, that's to represent a time period in my life where I was more questioning what I was as far as my gender identification. And then the poet of an X is when, okay, I know that something's different. So, all right, I see new poem. So I'm going to do the new poem then. Yes, that's what I see a lot of. All right, new poem. This stuff is so new that I literally finished it this morning. That's how new it is. I'm not even going to tell you the title, though. I'm just going to do the new poem. There is only one pixelated capture of us. Our whole mouth grins slipping quickly under the wheels of the bus that took me. When you said you were angry with me for not having had faith, I had hoped you were referring to my diet, not our eventuality. I will not apologize for having never been easy. I have always been a fractal dissonance, my body a bowl of stained light beneath you, our text a scattering of letters or reasons we could never be together, dangling in the air like my ceiling fan, the bulbs slowly untethering themselves with every spin. When I say that I love you, I am saying I have always loved you. My wills have a way of moving in every direction if given time. I am saying I could have come back to you. I could see our return. You in a cloud of silver, me in a belly of red. We weren't over yet. So, yes, you are the first to hear, guys. That was the new poem. I don't have a name for it yet. I have a tentative name for it yet, but not yet. It's very interesting ever since I finished the book, and I have a lot of poems that I've been working on. So there is like literally a whole nother manuscript. There's like a good 40 poems that are being worked on and edited and everything for a new manuscript. And a lot of them are more love-like and more nature-focused. So a lot of climate change type. Yeah. So questions. Do we have any questions? Or do you guys want another poem? Let's take a look here. You guys were the first to hear. My computer is not like in my left right now. All right. Can you tell us about your writing process? So, the writing process, thank you, Annie, for that question. The writing process for me, when I'm very moody, right? I have to be in the right mood to write. I have to want to write. I can't just sit down and like be like, today is writing time. I have to be like, all right, I know I have time to write today. Do I want to write anything? That being said, I love writing prompts. And I love doing that in a big group. I won't ever really take anything from the group writing prompt and use it, but it will put me on a thought process that a few days later or the next week I might be like, you know what, I did never go into that. I'm going to go into that right now. For right now, like the poems that I have are all poems that didn't make it into this book. And the poems that didn't make it into this book, I went back and I said, why don't they make it into this book? And I said, well, they're not fitting the vision that I had for this book. And they do fit something, and what they fit is something more with, again, nature and climate change, having a lot to do with what it means to be non-binary and going through that movement in the body, as well as going through the change in the weather and having to deal with that here in Texas. And so that's what I feel like the new text is doing, and that's what I feel like the new work is doing. And with me having that clarity, I now go back to those poems and I now know what they're supposed to do. Every now and then what happens is I'll have a poem or a line that I can take out that I'm like, that line does not belong in this poem. It's a great line. I like that line a lot. I'm not going to get rid of it, but I'll put it in my junk pile. And so when I'm having a hard time writing, I'll go to my junk pile and pull out the lines that have been removed from other things and start fresh with it. And say, all right, now what are you trying to do? It's been a couple of years, or it's been a couple of months. Now what are you going to try to do? And what I find is that a lot of the work that didn't make sense before now makes sense, because it's not trying to work in a place where it didn't belong, as far as it being another poem. Now it works on its own in a different and new poem. I'm trying to see, like when I did the God poem earlier, I watched the flood splash and truck. That line is from another poem that got taken out. It was removed from a whole other poem, and it found its own poem and lived there, because it's a line I've had for years, and it just never went anywhere until I was like, oh crap, that's where it goes. It's a whole new poem. That's why. So, great question. Let's see. Do we have any other questions? There are no other questions. I know you guys got questions. Book comes out on the 15th of October. There is a discount code, and I will put that discount code on this actual video. So I'll upload it as part of the description, the discount code for the book. Hey, my Nana just joined. Hi, Nana. Hi. She just joined. I finished reading already, Nana, but you can watch the rest of the video. Yeah, the lines find a lot of homes. What else was I going to tell you guys? Discount. You can, if you so want to support, you can. It's $Faylita Hicks at Cash App if you would like to donate. every time that you donate, it does go directly to being able to do stuff I need to do, like touring. I will like to tour my book, so if you know anybody who wants to bring me out, bring me on out. I would love to do so. I also have a PayPal, and I can provide that information later. What are your favorite themes to write about, or does your work follow a particular set of themes? All right, so that is a great question. One of the favorite things to write about is definitely going to be transformation. I think is the one of the overarching themes. Transfer, like when I say transformation, I do mean like, what does it mean to have been dead but now alive? What does it mean to have been living in one place and now living somewhere else different? There's a concept that Toni Morrison had talked about in one of her essays, about how light and dark, light is normally seen as good and dark is normally seen as bad. And for most of my life writing, I have been trying to find a way to make dark good and light bad. And it doesn't always work out that way. Obviously, it depends on the piece. But for the most part, I've been trying to understand, like, what are we so afraid of in the dark? And how do I make people less afraid of that? And so that's something that's constantly on my mind, is how can I transform this idea into something more? Yeah. So... Hi, Nana. She put lots of... My Nana's Gloria Ruff, guys. She's the one with all the hearts. So that's one thing. What else? I talk a lot about death. Even in the book, I talk a lot about death. But one of the first poems that's in the first section of the book is how I don't think that death is the end. I think death is one existence, and I feel like, you know, energy transfers and transforms. And so I question death very early on in the book, so that you can kind of question it throughout. Are these women dead, or do they become something else? Are these women, they can be more. We can all be more, and that's kind of where I live with that. So that was a good question. I hope I answered it. Try and see if there are any other questions. I think we got time for one more question. Obviously, you can find me on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, everywhere. Again, book comes out October 15th is when the book comes out. I do want to give a special shout out to Acre Books, which is my publisher. They're a very small publisher, but they have been so great working with me to make sure I can make the dream come true. Special shout out to my mom. I think my mom might watch, if not right now, later. There's a question from Aaron and a little delay in others. Let's see if I can find the question from Aaron. Aaron. Trying to see. Question from Aaron. Let's see. I don't see that question from Aaron. Aaron, if you want to rewrite that question for me or repost it there so I can answer it for you guys. I am the managing editor of Borderlands Texas Poetry Review. Woo! That is going to have an open submission period September 15th. And I am very excited to read your poems. Please send them to me. I like poems that move me. Send me your best work. That's what I want to see, your best work. That's all I have to say about that. There'll be more on the site. What's another question that I get all the time? I'm waiting for Aaron's question. I don't see it. Question I get all the time. I don't know. The cover art was done by Tyrone Getter. He's from North Carolina, I believe. And if you can't see it, let me just bring it a little bit in closer for you. Boom. See that beautiful face? It's a beautiful dream cover. really interesting about it was that I saw this photo and I was like, nope, can't have that as a cover, because I got really emotional about it, and I realized that it had to be the cover because I did get so emotional about it. A lot of this book was me facing fears and me trying to overcome them and say things that I normally would not have been able to say. So I hope you guys can read that in the book. The code that I'm going to put on here does make it 20% off. I think I'm going to read you guys one more, and if I don't see a question, do you like getting poems that are grouped in a theme? For the submissions, I want you to, yes. My personal feeling about it is that if you're going to have poems that kind of go a little bit everywhere, you can definitely do that. That's absolutely fine. And not just for me, but for every person you submit to. It's a lot easier to make your poems stick out, or to make your submissions stick out, if you make them all in a certain theme, or you make it all a part of a series, because then it's easier to reference and it's just a little bit easier. You're kind of like, it just kind of helps the memory a little bit more. It helps you stick out just a bit more if I know that, hey, those are all the poems about trains. Did you see the poems about trains? I'm not saying that you have to be that specific in your topic or anything like that. But I personally do. But I do have several other assistant editors, and they all have their own preferences. So look at everything, because I will not be the first person to see your poem. Someone else will be the first person to see your poem, and they don't get to me until after a couple of rounds. You mentioned you were working nature into your newer poems. In what ways are you doing that? So there's a lot more study being done about geography in the new poems. A lot more is being done when it comes to me just understanding the weather patterns and how things work over time, because that's not my area of expertise, so I have to do a lot of studying. I'm also looking at a lot of what's happening in the world. What are some world events that are happening, and the history of what the weather has been in those areas and how that's changing, and letting that infiltrate into the work. And then understanding it from my perspective, which is a very unique perspective. Me being an American citizen, me being of a certain age in America, and then me being non-binary and pansexual, and how the fluidity of my gender and the fluidity of my sexuality, how does that play into how I understand what's happening with the weather? Those are very interesting things for me, because, you know, the idea that somebody would say it's unnatural for me to be this way in my own body, and it's unnatural for the weather to do this, except that that's literally nature. That is nature, and nature changes over time. And is this good? Is this bad? How is it going to affect the future? These are all questions that I want to look at and explore. So that's where my brain is with that. Those were good questions. Visual arts in general. It says something about visual arts in general. Do you like getting poems that are grouped in a theme, or visual arts in general? I love visual art. I don't know what that question refers to exactly, but I do love visual art. What you can't see in my house is that I do a lot of mobile photography. So I have my mobile photography all over the walls. And I sell that online. You can all check all my work out at www.faylitahicks.com. You can find a lot of my mobile photography on there. You can find the EP to HoodWitch. It's called Onyx, and it includes 7 poems from the book, like an EP, and it's only $7, and you can download it digitally, so you can go ahead and get that. So that will allow you to hear some of the poems, but with music and other cool stuff. I'm going to read one last poem for you guys, and then I'm going to say goodbye. If you have more questions, please feel free to continue asking them, and I'll try to stay online for the next 30 minutes and answer those like by typing instead of by video. Again, FaylitaHicks.com. Yep, that's perfect right there. Thank you, Annie. And you can find, again, my videos. You can find my music, because I do rap. You can find music, and you can find my visual art on there. Everything is on that page, as well as the pre-order link for HoodWitch, because I would be a bad author if I didn't tell you to go and pre-order my book, which comes out October 15th. Last poem, and then I'm out of your hair. The birth mother's red bath for courage. With spoiled milk seeping from its many small brown mouths, my body twitched loose, the dead skin snaked around it, dripped runes in the doorway, heaved bullet after bullet into the tub, but did not die. There are claw marks and hot grease stains where things came through. Signature survival signs etched around my belly, at the hinge, in the crevices. All of it evidence. I did give birth to something. There was a killing here, of a kind. Something is lost now, forced from a room in me. Something is stifled in this body I have become, a deconstructed basket of rose-colored towels singing on the hospital's floor. Some nights, I think this body must still be calling out to the child that tore through it, or trying to forgive itself, forgiving itself over to the strange and inconvenient truth that not all mothers are mothers. Some mothers are war, an enemy of their own desires. Some mothers are graveyards, a field of want, buried beneath other fields of want. Some nights, I think this body must still be praying to a God that has long slithered away. Thank you guys so much. I hope y'all have a great night. Thank you for attending. Shout out to Poets in Pajamas. Woo! Thank you guys so much. I'm going to go have some wine. Bye.